Isn't that cute and fun? That's a new animation by my colleague Mario. And hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Alan Levine from Open Education Global, and this is Open Education Week, the worldwide international event that everybody wants to be a part of, right? And this is one in a series of these live, impromptu, unstructured shows where I ask interesting people to come on and they agree to it. And we talk a little bit about our interests and works, and we just have an open conversation. And I'm so lucky to have this great panel of friends and colleagues here on Tuesday of Open Education Week. And so I'll just ask everyone to let us know where in the world they are. And maybe my question this year is like, if you have a window, I see some windows, or if you could see out your window what you see right now. And I'll go to I'll start with my top left, a person with a bright window and always a bright smile, my good friend, Brian Mathers. Good morning and welcome, Brian.
Good morning, Alan, or good afternoon, or good evening. It's a global show. It's a global show. My name is Brian Mathers from Visual Thinkery. Whenever I look out the window, I see chimney pots of my neighbours, but nobody around here burns fires anymore. It's 100 years ago. This place must have been a nightmare. Anyway, I'm in London, UK. What else am I supposed to say? I've lost my train of thought already.
You're 1 minute. What do you do in the world? What do you do in open education, Brian?
What do I do? I do all things visual, really. It's a series of small experiments that all seem to be connected somehow. But I find myself turning conversation into cartoons mainly. But yeah, a few years ago, I used to be a programmer, so I sort of built a platform called the Remix Machine, and I suppose that's where we have collaborated many a time, Alan, in terms of doing various things for OEGlobal, various remixable bits of visual magic. So yeah, that probably gives you no clue as to what I do, but there you are. That's my one.
But you're world famous, Brian. Like your visual style is so well known, and so but we'll come back to that. And really, please, I'm putting her on the spot. This is Gracie, who's you're an intern working with Brian. That's like my dream job. Tell us where you are and what you're doing, Gracie, today.
So I'm near London in a place called Surrey, to be broad, and I'm an intern for Visual Thinkery, which is amazing. So I help Brian out with a couple of things like social media, and I'm luckily able to come in on calls like this and just get some invaluable experience, which is amazing. But currently I'm in my gap year, so I've just come out of what we call in the UK secondary school, so sixth form. And I'm right before going to university in Falmouth for illustration, which is all the way down in Cornwall, which is very far from me. It's about a 5-hour drive. But I love all things creative. I've been creative since I was very young, but definitely have a specific niche for mixed media animations at the moment. They're brilliant little pieces of magic. So yeah, that's pretty much me.
That's fabulous. And I would say you're getting the best schooling possible working with Brian.
Not to sound biased or anything, but it's amazing.
And you don't have to butter him up because he's here. You can be honest too.
Oh, he's actually very bad, terrible.
Oh, thank you for being here, Gracie. And we're going to talk about what you're doing this week for us. And really glad to have my colleague and almost neighbor, Connie Blomgren, because she lives way over there. Welcome, Connie.
Oh, well, thanks so much. It's lovely to be here. And being a Canadian, we offer land acknowledgements. So I acknowledge and live in the present-day Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta, the lands of the Nitspiatsia-Stakoi. My apologies there. I'm just a baby learning to speak Blackfoot, so part of the Blackfoot Nation. My home is in the traditional territories of the Siksika, the Piikani, the Kainai, the Tsuut'ina, and the Haudenosaunee Nations. This area is also part of the Métis homeland. I take personal responsibility to understand our shared history and my personal role in conciliation and reconciliation. Mitsiateki, I am grateful for our shared living environment. And this is crazy Canadian springtime weather, because on the weekend it was 18 Celsius on both Saturday and Sunday. Very lovely days. All the snow that we had was all melted. And then, of course, yesterday it was like, oh no, we're not done with snow or winter. So anyways, it snowed yesterday. When I was out in the evening driving home, I thought, oh boy, my neighbor was driving, and I just thought, I'm so glad I'm not having to drive through this weather. And then it cleared up a bit, and then it was so beautiful because the headlights sort of light up the snowflakes underneath. Some of the visual thinkery kind of people would just be enthralled with how incredibly beautiful it was. And then I woke up this morning and we've got a little fog, and there's a little hoarfrost and this big, beautiful, wet snow blanketing everything, but it's not too cold. Anyways, that's where I am. I actually am a professor, associate professor with Athabasca University. That's Canada's open university. And we have a distributed workforce. So the Athabasca is like an 8.5-hour drive from where I live. And so I don't go often there. I work in open education as a researcher. I teach a course about openness in education. And we have our Masters of Education in Open Digital and Distance Education here at Athabasca University. And I'm also a vice president and one of the board directors for Open Education Global, which is the mothership, as Alan likes to call it, for Open Education Week. So anyways, that's a little bit about me.
Excellent. So glad you could be here, Connie. And I think we're supposed to be talking maybe a little bit about this thing called AI. Did I get the acronym right? But we'll get to that in a second. And then, very pleased I was able to rope into this my good friend Werner Westermann, who always says yes when I ask him to do something. Welcome, Werner.
I'm your partner, Alan. Well, it's great to be here and to be participating in the Open Education Week, this global. Everybody kind of gets the call, right, to participate. So very, very fine. I am based in Santiago, Chile, Chile's capital, and I work at the Library of Congress of my country. I work in a civic education program, which basically tries to get a positive angle of Congress and in very rough times for democracy, as you might guess, but trying to educate people on the processes of our political system and to bring hope and to our futures, which are so cloudy. And I think openness gives us a lot of tools to persevere in that. So,
thank you, Werner.
Thank you.
Werner,
thank you for the invitation.
Werner will be humble, but I mean, just the fact that open education is centered in the Library of Congress, it just always warms my heart when I hear that. And some of the work that they've done there with minimal resources is so inspiring, and I hope to hear from this. So, thank you, Werner.
I would like to have better news, but I think you're over exaggerating on the centering of open education. I've been a very lousy advocator for open education in my country. Although I've tried, I've tried, but we have a long way to go to really center open as a way to, also as a default for all the work that we do. So
it's uphill for everybody, right?
And that's why I need to be connected with these wonderful people to get inspired and try to persevere. Thank you.
Thank you. And then definitely last but not least, Derek Moore. Good to see you. And like he also says yes quite often.
Who could say no to you, Alan? And I'm in South Africa. I'm in Johannesburg. I'm Derek. I run a very small independent consultancy of one person, and it's called Web Learning. And I've been doing this on and off for, I suppose, about 16 years with small breaks in institutions. As you can see behind me, there's a sign that says, keep the internet weird. And I've been on this beast for a while. My dearly beloved Jean decided just when I started going out with her to go overseas and leave me behind. And so in 1994, I was all by myself, and I got to learn the early internet in the university land, and have always thought that universities are perfect places for internet experiments to happen. But sadly, the rest of the world doesn't agree, and they just think that the internet is a great way to make a huge profit. So I'm just looking for ways to open up education. In my country, there's a very high unemployment rate. There's also a really big reading crisis, and digital tools, I think, offer some ways of addressing this. And so, well, at the moment, I'm having fun on two projects. One is Wikipedia, and I'm discovering so many holes in knowledge with Wikipedia at the moment, and it's remarkable. I mean, I discovered South Africa had a brand that I'd never heard of called Makasa. And Makasa allows you to wear your beautiful traditional clothes when you come back from your initiation ceremony. And it's a global brand, and I hadn't heard of it. And suddenly I was looking through Zulu Wikipedia and came across it. I'm not very good at Zulu, but Google Translate helps. And I thought, wow. And so I put that onto Wikipedia, which was fun. And then there's lots of things that I'm having fun there. But then I'm also looking at early reading resources and asking myself, can we do something called social impact publishing? And social impact publishing is yes, I mean, I love books. As you can see, I've got lots of them around me. Well, over there's a bookshelf full of them, and the house is full of them. But if you don't have books and you've invested your money in a phone because you don't have many bucks, there are lots of free or reasonably accessible books to access, and we're involved in projects trying to make that happen. So that's my kind of area of playing in Wikipedia and playing with early publishing resources. And you said I have to look out the window. It's nearly nighttime, so it's dark.
Okay. But it's South Africa, so that's exotic to me. And so thank you, everybody. Like, and this is where, like, I don't have a format. Like, everybody expressed some kind of things that we wanted to talk about, and we've already kind of alluded to the cloud of various climates around us, and we don't have to get negative about this. But I'd like to hear some things that you're doing that maybe, like, Derek kind of gave us some clues, and I'd like to hear more about. I've been following his work with Wikipedia a little bit, but like. Anybody like have the thing that they kind of like are really top of their mind right now?
I actually have one because I've been looking to Visual Thinkery website and looking at the wonderful things that you guys develop. So my question is, how does open resources connect to drawings and cartoons? How are you able to promote remixing and reusing of the work that you do, and how does storytelling, act as an enabler for openness? How do you guys think about it?
Well, it's a good question. I have deep curiosity when it comes to visual things, I guess, and the remixer machine in particular. I never really know who will use it, I guess, or and what they will use it for, and I think that's its strongest element, is that, and you'll see this when, if we set up a remixer to, say, for a conference, and so people are making a little ID card, or they're making a little supervillains card, or whatever it might be, and they'll all be different. So even though people are inspired by each other, I guess, when it comes to a little bit of creative constraint, people will choose different paths. Things will appear obvious in different ways, and I just find there's something profoundly beautiful about that, where we sort of we think that people see the world as we see it, and nobody sees the world as we see it, because nobody's had the experiences that we've had, and therefore it means that predicting what might be useful, as in I don't really think in those terms at all. It's very much a case of, well, there's an interesting idea. I wonder if we made that thing, would people use it? Or a little like recently, University of Delft, TU Delft, in the Netherlands, had a conversation with them about a potential. Well, like, we just want a little bit more of a playful angle on this little course design tool, and I'm thinking, right, there's an angle here, but I wonder how other people might find a different angle with this same thing, where they might be able to use it in a different way. So making it up as we go along. There's we're not trying to necessarily change the world, but it's very much about curiosity and about humanness, and realizing that everybody's different, I guess. I don't know if that feels like a ramble. I don't know if that made any sense.
A question, you mentioned this remixer machine. What is that, or where can I find it? Because through Google doesn't help.
Oh, do you want to do a little demo? Do you want to do a little demo and show us what it's about?
Sure.
Demo, yes, please.
Sure.
Demo.
Right, here it comes.
And while he's getting that set up, I'm just going to, you go ahead and get it set up, Brian, and I'm going to fill the gap here.
Okay.
I would just like to talk a little bit about that idea of animation and OER and youth co-creation projects. Because I was part of a project where that's exactly what happened. We had funding and we created an animation about vaccine competence. And so this was in 2020, and we worked with youth in Edmonton virtually, and we co-created an 8-minute animation around youth and trying to, develop science literacy skills. And it all has open licensing on the animation itself, but then also all the assets that came with it. And then Futurum Careers, which is based in the UK, they contacted us and asked if they would like to work with us. It was at a fee, but it was money well spent, because then they created some learning resources for high school teachers interested to use the animation as part of helping students learn about not just vaccine competence, but it's about science literacy. And we had a limited budget. So like you're talking about creative confines there, Brian. So we didn't have the full budget to go big animation, which is very expensive. It's lovely to do, but it costs a lot. So instead we went with kind of like a hybrid. I don't know what they would call it in the animation world, but it is like a graphic novel sort of style with occasional animation pieces to it. And the students, they came up with the names of the characters. They talked about what they would wear, the makeup of the family, like all the storyline, all those pieces. Those we coached out of the youth, because they were not used to being asked about how do we create something for youth. It was a very slow process in some ways, sometimes having them feel confident in just sharing their ideas or what they thought. But there was a lot of observing going on. You could really see them thinking this through. And it even got to the point where the main character, Corey is the character's name, and so we were hiring professional voice actors, and so we had little clips of their auditions. And I don't know, myself and my two other colleagues from Athabasca, Dr. Stella George and Dr. Karen Cook, we just thought they all sounded old, like, and that's what we said to the animators. They just sound old, like they're 20, they're maybe 30, trying to sound like they're 16, 17. They just didn't seem to have the energy behind it. So anyways, we had one of the youth who was very interested in content creation, social media. She worked with the professional animators. They recorded her voice, saying the script. And so she's the voice of the protagonist in the animation. So, it was just a really lovely, opportunity for lots of different kinds of learning. So I shared that link. Hopefully, Ellen, you can share it as well. And so people can take a look at the animation and the OER resources that are part of that. So it was a great opportunity to take that visual storytelling element that's so juicy and rich and make it, like Brian was talking about, something that everyone brings something different. And of course, we ended up with this animation, which was really, really cool to do.
It's brilliant stuff. And I encourage people to check it out because it's a really good use of animation for what it was trying to achieve. And thanks for bringing that to us. So, Brian, I'm ready to put your screen on the screen. And I guess
go for it.
Yeah, you can just lead the show because, sometimes you come into the main entrance, right? And sometimes you just go directly to the lab, if you will.
Yeah. Well, look, listen, there's a whole, again, I never set out to build this thing. It was just a series of small steps, but maybe it's best experienced by one of the simplest remixables, right? So, which is this one way down here, which is just a simple, let's see, it's just a simple element remixer, right? So, and when you think about it, a periodic table's got a specific style. It feels a certain way, so. I don't know. We could.
I love that.
Change this too.
Yeah.
Right, and just the idea that then you could put something, whether openness is
zero. How about zero?
Number one or zero. It is 00. Yeah. There we go. And again, just a simple thing where you could change. I don't know, just the background color, right? And if I publish this, that it would that it would save it. But what's going on behind the scenes is it's actually it's not saving the image itself. It's saving the model, saving the information that I've added, right? Because what that allows you to do is it allows other people to then come and start where I left off, right? So they could take my remix and they could further remix it, and that idea appeals to me a lot. The idea that you can take something on a journey and then someone else can be inspired by it and take it on a completely different journey and use it for a completely different thing. But it's only recently we sort of started laying these out, as these are all remixes by various different people, and you can see that I've just added one to the top there. So again, if you added another one, they would all shift along, and we're going to use this as one of the challenges for the OEWeek that we've been doing sort of every day. But it just sort of gives you a little basic about what the idea that you can remix someone else's remix. But as time's gone on, we've remixed lots of stuff, or started with lots of models. You mentioned the postcard, which has various forms. We've got a field notes remixer at the minute where you can sort of, is a bit like let's see the postcard. Where's the postcard? So you've probably seen this in terms of previous OE global conferences or even OEWeeks. We've used that. And the field notes is a wee bit like that, only it allows you to, it just sort of takes it a little bit further. So the idea that you have a sort of a draggable map in the background here, or that you could actually type in a sort of a point of interest, latitude and longitude, just a little bit of extra curiosity, you know. I had somebody contact me recently to sort of go, hey, I'm planning a trip. I'd like to use the field notes to be able to just capture the sort of elements of my trip. And I'm like, well, great, go for it, you know. So, and the idea that you can upload a photograph and sort of move it around and put it where you want it to be, or change, zoom in on the map a bit, but you've essentially got a bunch of controls that allow you to remix. And there's something about if there's too many controls, it's too complicated, right? Just about having enough direction, but you don't need many controls for an infinite array of possibilities to open up, I guess. And so I'm always trying to think, well, what might be interesting to people? What might they use it for? Because every so often a little story comes back to you of, I teach, year 5s in primary in Arkansas, and I used your tool to do this thing over here. And I'm like, really? Wow. That gives my heart a warm glow, Anyway, that was the little bluffer's guide to the Remix machine.
No, well, I'm a big fan, but it lets you be creative, but doesn't, like Brian says, it doesn't overwhelm you with the details, and it's that kind of constraint of within some limited things how much you can go with it. And so we've been using the postcard for a couple of years for our events, and I usually thought of it just a way of like sharing, what you're doing at a conference or during Open Education Week. And then because it's open, like I started seeing ones from people, I don't know what they were doing in Poland. There was a whole series of Polish postcards. And that part of it that people will latch into it for a different purpose. And then last year I started seeing people were using it to generate the images when they submitted something for Open Education Week. And so when people kind of take it in a direction, you didn't expect, that's really exciting. And I definitely want to come back. I want to maybe, I'd ask Brian to sort of like do this week we're having for Open Education Week. And this is where Gracie's been coming in too, because I think she's creating them. We have a challenge every day of something to do with the remixer machine. And we're asking people to share them in OEG Connect. And just to sweeten the pot, we're asking people to upvote them with the like buttons, and we'll have a vote at the end of the week. We have prizes. We have you can get money to spend on T-shirts at the OEGlobal T-shirt store. But the remix is fun, and I think Werner, when you dabble with it, I bet you'll come up with an idea. I can see his eyes already. He's like looking at it and figuring it out.
No, this is wonderful. I've been. Let me connect this as one of the things that I've been wondering, and I actually have I'm trying to get an approval so I can work around interactive textbooks, but I'm wanting to work with 6th grade, which is 12 years old, at least in Chile. So, the graphics is just so important in that. So to have this is wonderful. I'm staggered. And I'm already thinking about
I know that
prevalent postcard,
and everything you create automatically comes with what's your standard license? Is it SA, Brian? Is it
CC BY SA? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Sure.
That's wonderful. Let me ask you, Brian. Can you embed, for example, one of these assets?
Well, technically, you can. Although I haven't publicized that recently, but yeah, you can use it through an iframe if you needed to. It gets a little bit tricky when it comes to pressing sort of publish, and where does it publish and that. So, but it's potentially embeddable.
Okay.
Yeah.
I work with H5P, so let me. I'll get back to you if I'm able to embed some of your assets.
Well, you can. I mean, the images obviously can go into H5P as a normal image.
Yeah, no, but there's a function of H5P which is iframe where you can embed the. But not all stuff work on that. That's been my experience. So we have to make some tests. But that would be fun.
I think Derek was. I see a question on Derek's face.
I just like the idea of being able to put pictures of your context into something and other people to see it. I think that's great. And I think the danger of Wikipedia is it's terribly high stakes, and people are thinking I'm writing the truth over here. And yes, that is high stakes, but it doesn't have to be high stakes. It can just be fun. And I use something called a shelfie with my librarians, and we create shelfies. And a shelfie is you take a selfie, but you make sure that there are books behind you. But you've got to choose your books carefully. So you might go to a certain part of the library, or you might choose your favorite authors and put a pile of authors behind them. But there's some kind of message that you're trying to convey. But putting this into a postcard to me is even better. So it's those kind of cascade of ideas that happen when things are open. And when you show kind of people these ideas, they think, wow, okay, I'm not just involved in a passive web. I'm actually involved in making it ours. And that's, to me, a very exciting experience.
And
I
Brian,
like that idea.
Go ahead, Connie.
Well, I was just going to say, I have another Open Education Week activity. Actually, that's tomorrow. And I work as an associate editor with the International Review of Open and Distributed Learning. It's the 25th anniversary of this academic journal, which is open access and has been open access almost from the very beginning, because it started in 2000, and of course you couldn't be open access in 2000, right? So, but as part of my talk with CIDR, that is sponsoring some of these activities celebrating the 25th anniversary of this academic journal, I thought, well, sometimes academic things can get so dry. And so I thought, oh, what could I do to spice it up? And so then I put in the postcard idea. I thought, oh, I think I'll get, people to say, hey, I attended this talk about 25 years of Erodal and Open Ed, and so they can make up the postcard. So you'll be seeing some of those coming in, Brian. So who knows, how many, but Yeah, so I mean, it's an easy way to create some, different kind of activity summary, and I think it's playful, which is so important. And when we think in creative, playful, open ways, our minds move away from some dark clouds that are surrounding us. And I think that open education really has this, I would call it a higher calling right now, to be this place of where we can, continue the growth that we've had, do it in a good way, a respectful way, walk alongside our learners and our other contributors. But it's easy to, pay attention to the gray clouds, but there's sunshine too. So let's be part of the sunshine and openness, eh?
And I hear, it's a great, you can have people who participate create artifacts or things that represent something they did in an activity with you. Like the one yesterday is just creating a badge, which we used it as an intro thing, but why not create your own badge and, certify yourself in a fun way.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I wondered whether you had any ideas in terms of what might make a good remixer, because some of these little templates have come by chance, and I've got a list of other ideas that, things like a remixable gravestone, which I thought might be quite It sounds a little bit morbid, but it could be quite fun, depending on how you dealt with it, or what you might be talking about. That you wanted to use that as a visual metaphor. But yeah, I'm always curious to know what people think would make a good, remixer app. But I don't know if you've got any ideas, people.
So, Brian, can I make a couple of suggestions? I'm involved in a nice project called Book Dash. And Book Dash is a lovely project because what they do is they have 12 hours and an illustrator, an author, a designer, and a storyteller work together on a children's book. And they have 12 hours within some kind of template to create this book, and it's licensed as an open book, and it's got enough space around the text, so if you change it into different languages, it fits in those different languages, which is lovely. And I've been thinking, how can you get authors to and the whole team to kind of talk more about their books? And I've been thinking thumbnails, blah blah blah, but the visual thinkery sounds like a far more interesting type of thing. So at the end of the project, they make a little kind of book cover, but maybe it captures all the activities that have been involved in the illustration, or maybe it captures the illustration itself and it somehow gets embedded into the project. Anyway, that's just the top of my head. That's what I was thinking.
I was thinking the book cover, or maybe, or maybe the front and back of the book, so you could have like some inspirational quotes.
Yes, yeah, or something that you can just post on your social media to lead people to the book.
Very good.
Make it friendly for children to do themselves.
Brian, I don't know why I'm thinking of this, but I was thinking of a sandwich. Sometimes it's used as a metaphor. And then, of course, there's different kinds of sandwich styles around the world. But thinking about what you're going to put something, you have, something containing it above and below, and the condiments and what you put on the inside of a sandwich. I don't know why I thought of that. Maybe I'm hungry.
we have bunny chows in our part of the world, but a bunny chow is a dug out loaf of bread, and then you put the food inside it, and that is very tasty.
Yeah. And like all the varieties of flatbread around the world too, like what you put on top of a piece of flatbread too.
Yeah, I like that.
So Brian came fishing for ideas. That's good.
Well, maybe a menu.
Yeah, listen,
a
I'm
menu
always
is
open.
kind of, I don't know if you've thought of like a restaurant menu, but that one potentially you could, it depending, I guess, on who's using it or whatever, you could have young children, they could just write up one item on the menu. So then it could be like a collective, right? But it also could just be one person, right? I thought of a bookmark, going along with that ideas of the books, obviously. I thought of a great big, billboard ad, potentially. And then Brian, probably back in the day, you remember that when artists used to have LPs, they had beautiful LP art, and then all their liner notes, right? Right. And you could really learn quite a bit about your musicians and who they knew. This is back in the day when you had to do all the sleuthing yourself because there was no internet to easily, figure out, oh, so-and-so knew so-and-so and so-and-so knew so-and-so, and they all hung out at this particular music studio and created the album or whatever. So, but I think there's a little resurgence in LPs, right? So I think youth might find that kind of a cool thing to do. Nice. Anyways, so like those kind of things.
Oh, Brian.
It was interesting. So go on.
That's right. I can't remember now the old Mozilla thing where you could build like mini web things. It went away, but
yes,
but I used to do this one. It was like like ingredient labels, like tells you what's inside of something, and so the activity was to make your own ingredient labels. So you have like the percentage of certain attributes of your personality, and then the ingredients are listed in the order of which is most important ingredient. And so I think I had a can of beans that was my base for it.
Well, that's a good one actually, because you could swap out the thing behind it, whether it be can of beans or chili, extra hot chili sauce, or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And therefore have slightly different variations, as well as you don't want people to be typing too much stuff where they'll never remix anything. You know what I mean? So it needs to be sort of short and simple enough, doesn't it? And, okay, that's good. That's good merit. That's good merit.
So good. So we encourage folks to try some of the remixes this week. So let's fade into the other topic that's been on the table. When are you going to throw some AI into the remixer machine? Is that going to happen?
Well, I'm dabbling with AI at the moment, but more on the software side. I find AI, 20 years ago, if I had had AI beside me, in learning to program, oh my goodness, I would, I could have built a million sites, between then and now. Whereas I find it very disappointing, when it comes to visual stuff. I find it, I'm not impressed by it at all. So I am sort of dabbling, but very much as a guide on the side when it comes to something that has hoovered up all of the coding knowledge that is out there and can answer my questions, seems to be very quickly, But when it comes to creative process, not so much. I'm not a fan really. But I don't know. Is that the starter for 10 and the hot topic?
Oh, kind of, because it is on a lot of people's mind.
Yeah.
But how do you see, Brian, this emergence of these AI-based drawing tools like DALL-E?
I don't like this. I don't like the feel of it. It almost has a genre all by itself. There's upside though. I quite like the fact that I'm now thinking all of the time, what does it mean to be human? Because humor. Doing all those little millions of little decisions that only you would go on. You know what I mean? And or really just appreciating the process. I think as soon as we turn art into prompt and output, like an artist knows exactly what they want to create right at the start. That's not how it works. You start somewhere and abandon it somewhere. That's how art seems to be. So, I don't really know what to think of a lot of these sort of image AI tools, because they're sort of spewing out stuff that might have merit, might not have merit, depending on what people want to use it for. But if people think that somehow that process might be the same to get from A to B, that seems crazy to me. So
So what's better to remix instead of
exactly
expecting a machine to give you a result?
Well, remix is human. Remix is human because you're essentially you're picking something up and going, oh, hold on a minute, let me change that. There's choice in there. I'm also curious about how much of your decision making is conscious and how much of it is subconscious, and that happens in remixing as well, where you make decisions without thinking about it, just in terms of even little things that you choose, or based on how you see the world, I guess. But I think remixing is very human, and a worthy endeavor.
Not that I would say it this way, sorry, but there are some people who make the case that AI is like the ultimate remix, but like not in the best way. It is taking source and it's stirring it up and spitting something out. I'm not defending that. That's not how I feel.
I would say that Yeah, you could say that that is on a very narrow definition of what is remix.
Oh yeah.
You could argue that. However, I'm more with Brian, and I've been thinking a lot about what does AI mean for education. I really feel that we're in unknown waters here in such a substantial way. So I've been thinking a lot about, well, what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to read, to write, to create, all those kind of things? And also, what does AI bring? And I'm not saying I'm 100% against it. The environmental costs are huge, right? This is the other thing. Like, part of me goes, is it really necessary? Like, how necessary is it? I mean, does the world really fall apart if you have bad grammar in your email? Not too sure, but I think it still keeps going on, right? Like, and actually, like, well, here's an interesting example. My daughter was at work. She wasn't feeling that well. She was just, kind of in her cubicle, and she didn't tell anybody that she wasn't feeling very well. And one of her coworkers came over and said, "Are you feeling okay?" And she said, "Well, no, not really." And I said, "Well, how did your coworker know that you weren't feeling well?" And she said, "Because your texts and emails were like, the grammar was not good. Like, it's usually, right? It's not like she's using AI to write that, but it was actually a signal that something was wrong because the writing wasn't how it usually is, right?" So, I mean, I think it's an interesting example of how we can just rely on some of these things so much that things become so mechanical, so artificial, that our humanness is not really being there. So I'm with Brian on that. I think we still have lots of thinking to do, but yeah, there's a lot of money in the game, so it gets big.
And the thing about the uncharted waters is, like, we didn't really choose to swim in them. They came to us.
Yep.
Alan?
Yeah, Derek. Yeah.
This is why I'm quite interested in Wikipedia at the moment, because I think Wikipedia is shaping quite a lot of these AI outputs. And the question that I think open folk need to be asking themselves is, how are they contributing towards shaping Wikipedia in a way that actually also reflects some of the outputs that we like? And so I'll give you an example, and I mean, you can tell me this is rubbish, or you can tell me that if it's good, but I wrote an article on AI in education. And for me, it was a very helpful process, kind of trying to put my thoughts down in Wikipedia about this. And I mean, what I do is I find myself reading articles and then going back to the article and changing it. But it's that sense of as people put themselves into the remixing machine and kind of make a lovely postcard, I think we need to be thinking also, how do we put some of our thoughts into places that are shaping big conversations. And I've noticed, I mean, I've been playing around with a few functions, and it's a bit embarrassing because it's incomplete. But if you look at portal : open education on Wikipedia, I've tried to put some things around open education. It's definitely not complete, but it's one of those senses of actually looking at the stuff around open education on Wikipedia and saying, we're not actually telling people enough about many of our things. So the Z degree, for example, I can't find any Wikipedia page about the Z degree. But if we look at research, then there's quite a lot about it. And I mean, this is in English. Think about it in vernacular, isiZulu, Xhosa, all the languages of Africa. It's terribly underrepresented. And there's a huge gap in that area. And I mean, I sound like a passionate evangelist, and maybe I am. But I really think that kind of knowledge is worth everything. And if we have the opportunity to participate in these things, then we must take it. And yes, update your own website, do your own research. I think those are important. But I also think let's try and see if we can shape some of Wikipedia as well.
Yeah, and that's That's some of the tension, and I've heard people argue this, is that like we should make sure more good content is going into the training than Reddit and whatever. At the same time, we don't know exactly what they do when they use that content. That's the frustrating thing.
No, we don't.
And so absolutely. Improving Wikipedia.
There certainly is a sense of slavery and being beholden to kind of people that you're doing work for, and you're not getting any money for it. So there are all these tensions of that, and certainly down here in the global South, I don't want to be guilty of exploiting anybody. So I think you've got to ask these questions as well. So yes, this is not a neat package, and it's complicated. Oh, that was a downer.
No, it's in everybody, but many people are just wrestling with this on many different fronts, and it's not like I'm convening a heavy hitter session tomorrow, and I try to want to get away from taking sides. Like it ends up sometimes being this thing of you have to be pro or against it. And we're humans, like we're always on a spectrum in the middle.
Yeah, it's many things, isn't it? It's not just one thing, as maybe I was trying to suggest that for this thing over here, oh my goodness, is amazing. And this thing over here, not so much. But I think one of the things that sort of bothers me about it a little bit is a few years ago everybody was talking about blockchain, right? There's blockchain, this blockchain, that. I was just like, if you didn't have blockchain in there, you weren't current. You didn't know what the zeitgeist was. It just seemed to be that. But with AI feels like magic. You know what I mean? It's that, and it's that opacity, or that opaqueness. That adds to that magic feel where you toss in one thing and out comes this other thing. You know what I mean? It's just like this, and we didn't have that with some of those other things that have sort of, come and gone, or the hype that have come and gone, and I think that is dangerous. Because even we've all done it, I'm sure, in terms of typing in a prompt. Out comes a picture, and you're just like, wow, how did that, and there's a godlike element to that makes us feel superior or something, and there's something in there that just bothers me, that in terms of how then it's adopted or used or I haven't figured out yet, but that element of magic, I don't know what people think about that.
Well, I have a perfect way that I'd like to end on an upbeat note. I think Brian, we should, and Gracie, we should show them today's challenge, and I think you should be the person who does it, but I think you should be the scribe for someone else in the room, like to do the challenge. Does that work? Because you've already done it, Brian. Or we could talk about it as a group. Yeah, we could talk about it as a group, how we would go about the challenge. So,
sure.
Is anybody game to sort of be the person? Yeah, and you can also do this on your own. I'll put the link in our group chat. But Brian's going to pull up on his screen, I think. He's already. I'm going to move this over. So this is today's remix, and the field notes that he talked about. And I will.
Yeah. So I guess. Quite often a remix encapsulates some sort of story, whether it's a postcard, there's a story baked in there. And so, with this challenge, we're thinking of, maybe getting people to think about an open education experience, maybe an early open education experience. But essentially it's tying together a picture, a location, and a comment, and I guess there's a person in there too, because there's a little by where you can put your name as well. But I wondered whether obviously to make this work you would need to have a picture at the ready. If you can hear that beautiful music in the background, by the way, that's my doorbell going. But so they can.
That's so
I don't
pleasant.
care who it is. They can just wait. I know.
Well, we can also just talk about like how you would go about this, like obviously the thing is like first picking the memory of the thing that you want to talk about,
which is maybe the hardest part.
Yeah.
I suppose I have. Well, yeah. Who wants to contribute? Jump right in.
The first time you like became aware of open education, or even if it was before there was a thing called open education in terms of general openness, like where were you in the world?
My map is ready to launch to wherever someone suggests. Where are we going, people?
So I can make a start if you'd like.
Do it.
I was in the back of my garage in Pietermaritzburg.
Okay.
Right. Let's see. Where is
down,
that?
down. Yeah,
a
little bit to the right. Yeah, a little bit further to the right. Okay. Yes, that's not bad. A little bit inland. That's a bit higher. But we'll give that. Yeah, that looks good. That looks good enough. Okay. And Pietermaritzburg, just go PMB, so we don't kind of okay. And I was trying to do stuff with academics, and I was trying to show them how they can use the web, and I was creating original stuff. And the more I created, the more I realized, crap, I'm never going to keep up with this. Because it's just too hard trying to do it all by myself. And suddenly I had an epiphany and realized there's a whole world of open resources and people are sharing their resources. And I didn't have to start from scratch. And to me, it was a kind of a liberating feeling, knowing that I didn't have to be this kind of resident genius in order to help people use the web. We could actually share our resources and we could work in the commons. And to me, that was a really kind of a great feeling, knowing that here, this funny little man in South Africa, at the back of his garage, trying to make things work in Pietermaritzburg, wasn't doing it by himself. I don't know if that's a good enough story.
I think we need a picture of a garage. It doesn't have to be the exact garage.
Garage,
any
yes,
garage.
Yes, any garage. Alan, you've got your openverse search on your bookmark, have you or not?
Oh yeah.
I'm just going to look. I use.
Oh, Derek got so excited. I think he logged out. Well, we can get the idea. So maybe Brian, if you just quickly load up a picture, or I will find a garage picture for you.
Yeah. Yeah, you find me a garage picture, and I'll let me change the background on this because there's a few little options that allow you to sort of.
Yeah, and can you talk about, because I find people don't really bother with the.
Yeah, again, there's a library that sits behind this called D3, which allows you to do geographic projections, right? That I just find it incredible. It can do all sorts of different projections. But yeah, and I've sort of wired a few of the options in. Now let's see, what have we got here? So this one here allows you to add sort of country borders in there. So if I give that a nice black line, you'll see that, sort of country borders start to appear. Whereas the sea, these are these sort of lines of sort of latitude and longitude that we can either have or not have in our background map. And then obviously, yeah, you can have much more interesting colors whenever it comes to sort of sea and land anyway.
Okay, I put one in the private chat. I went to my photos just because I find them easy. I have an old garage door.
Right. Let me. Right. Let me download that. Take that one there. Okay. I'll just.
We'll just have to make up Derek's story because. Oh,
wow.
There you go. In goes the garage. Garage. Yeah, lovely. And I will. Let's see. I'll just zoom in a little bit there.
that's okay.
Yeah, and I'll just publish. I'll just publish that.
Yeah, Derek is here, but I think he's having some device issues. But if you can hear me, Derek, we're putting it to work.
Yeah.
And, easy enough to go back anytime. And Derek, maybe do it. I like that little feature because you add a little bit of like, I use that field. There he is.
Awesome.
I sometimes use that field when you publish to like give attribution to the image, or to put a little like, note. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're working inside a gallery. Essentially, unless we share the link to the gallery, then no one will know and sort of jump in and start randomly remixing, I guess. So, but yeah, it also comes with a few little features like that, being able to add a little comment, and that means whenever you hover over what someone else has done, you can see that their comment is there, and and you can obviously start from where they are. So there you go. A little bit of remixing done right here. Yeah.
Live remixing. That's what happens. And hope that everybody who watches this tunes into some of our remix challenges in Connect, or just does it on their own. I think that's the most value, is just playing around with it.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. An excuse to create.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's see. Okay. Derek got so excited he logged off. So we're kind of I have time, but it is the hour, and I don't want to keep everybody. But just want to thank you all, and anything else you want to say, like for what you're seeing or feeling this Open Education Week, or I'll just play the closing credits then.
I have some workplace duties to call, but I will get back to you guys.
He will.
and as I see, Brian, everything is just plain HTML. There's no JavaScript or anything that runs.
Oh, there's plenty of JavaScript in there. There's plenty. But on the front, it's using a Nuxt framework, which is it's a JavaScript essentially framework. But,
so it should be very difficult to frame. So
it's
wonderful work.
Possible.
I didn't know about the remixer machine.
Yeah.
So I'm super happy to have found you guys. Thank you.
I bet kids would have a lot of fun with this.
Mm-hmm. And the kids in us.
Well, I love it.
Yeah. That's what I was talking about, Connie.
Mm-hmm. And everybody needs a little bit of that, I think.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was thinking later today, I'm meeting up with some colleagues, and we're doing a plan for a workshop that we're going to have in Calgary in end of April. And I thought, I think we're going to use the remixer. So there's another place. It's going to be Connie's favorite thing to use, Brian. You'll see, that Connie. She's just
Excellent.
That's the real mixing.
Excellent. Well, you're very welcome.
Yeah, when people discover it and then they share it with someone else, that's the real value.
Yeah, it's really lovely. Yeah, I really appreciate everyone's interest. I made some interesting notes here, and I just appreciate everyone's coming together to talk about, how openness really does bring us together, how it's human to share and to want to help each other and improve the world instead of break it down. So, it's good.
I think that's the perfect end quote. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to play the music, and then the stream will stop. See you on the next one.
Okay, thanks so much.